Warm welcome to my channel, Daniel. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to tell my viewers that Daniel is a licensed clinical social worker and a therapist. So we're going to dive deep into the concepts of psychology, mental health, mental awareness. So, yeah, Daniel, could you enlighten us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm the founder of Willow Medela Wellness LLC here in Utah. My background is extensive. I used to be a recreational therapist and through do a licensure from my consultant, fell in love with social work early on from 1998 going forward. So mental health has always been in my background. So trauma therapy from child welfare to geriatrics and special
Wow.
needs. I've been all over the place.
And you started your work when I was born, 1998.
You're the same age as my daughter.
Oh, wow. And what first inspired you to pursue a career in trauma therapy and social work?
Well, the thing is, everyone has a incident in their past where it can be framed as traumatic.
Hmm.
And I I originally was going to go to school to be a doctor, but I had ADD and ADHD and undiagnosed dyslexia when I started college. But my stepmother uh, i- is a retired nurse. And here in Utah, she wrote the handbook for the trains for all the CNAs here. So I kind of went that route. She was like, come check it out, see what you want to do. And I just meeting people over time, just seeing that their mental health was actually what gave them the will to thrive and survive or not. So mental health and trauma go hand in hand. I mean,
Yeah.
and moving from one place of life to care facilities or health or mental deterioration,
Hmm.
that is trauma.
Sure.
Working with special needs and seeing a client after I got back from maternity leave, found out she was sexually assaulted. I mean, those things impact how you approach things going forward.
And I guess being a therapist, when it comes to dealing with patient with serious traumas, you always have to walk on eggshells, right? Yeah.
Yes, and with being a trauma therapist, I've had an opportunity to work with first responders. So
What does it
I
mean,
worked with
Daniel? First responders.
first responders like, sorry, repeat that question again.
Yeah, you said you have the opportunity to deal with first responders. What does it mean?
It means that I worked with people on the front lines, like the firefighters, the
Okay.
police
Okay.
officers,
Mm-hmm.
um, paramedics, EMTs. Here in Utah, we have skiing, so we had the safety patrol. So those that go on the mountain to rescue people. I was also working with other paraprofessionals, other social workers, victims advocates, psychologists, and therapists as well. So I was their support system. And I had recently was working with the largest school district in Salt Lake City. I was the only therapist for all the employees, their family members, and their contract workers. So I'm dealing with all the administration, the teacher. I was looking at teachers as first responders on the front line too, that nobody was paying attention to. So looking at how to give them access to that mental health support, or just even having a safe space to have a voice when things are pushed against them or up against them.
Hmm. Got it. Wow. And I guess this thing, PSTD, that is highly associated with soldiers, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right. So it was first looked at
Yeah.
so you've heard those have if you've heard the terminology shell shock from World
Yeah.
War One,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was the first documentations of PTSD, but they didn't have a terminology. And in the forefront of the research of PTSD, they were looking at the military because there were patterns. And then a great book to reference for any PTSD for post-traumatic stress disorder is The Body Keeps the Score. Best book ever, at least read the first four chapters. It is dense, but it has the research and history along this where when you have a traumatic event, it changes our brain chemistry, our response. I mean, many of us have had a reference of been in a car accident or a close call.
Mm.
We're
Yeah.
reacting, we're jumpy. Doesn't mean you necessarily have PTSD, but you had a adverse incident and you're responding to that. Your nervous system is flooded with all of those emotions, endorphins, the sensories. So how the post-traumatic part is the longer effect. And a lot of people are like, I don't have PTSD. I'm not saying you have PTSD, but what we have found with people who've worked in trauma responses or even mental health, like me right here, I could get what's called secondary PTSD just from hearing traumatic
Mm.
events.
True.
And here in Utah, ironically, nationally, you've all probably heard about it, or globally, we just had a shooting of an important figure, people consider important figure here in Utah at a college campus. That's 30 minutes from my home. People were there. People are seeing on the media, seeing snapshots of somebody being killed, or even seeing images of wartime from across the globe. That caused trauma, and that affects every other domain in your life.
Got it. Wow. And as you deal with this kind of a sensitive issue all the time, so I want to know like what you personally do to, blow off some steam or things that you like to do in your downtime.
So this is an important question. This is actually what I talk to my clients about is when they first start seeing me, I talk about maintenance from day one because maintenance is going to help us do the self-care. When I was in school, they trained us go teach your client self-care, da da da. Problem was they were not teaching us how to do it. They told us in words, but not modeling. How am I supposed to let my clients know what that is without being able to know my own references? So
Hmm.
I had to learn my own self-care. And a lot of my self-care is the grounding, the breathing, the basic to-do list, like the walking, the bilateral. Those seem simple, but here's the thing. We're human of nature and we like to complex things. So I actually had, because before I was a therapist, I did skills counseling therapy in homes. We did wraparound services. And the problem was we were having clients' needs of the Maslow hierarchy of care not being met. So they couldn't work with a therapist because they couldn't get to the groundwork of what was caught, why they were there, because the day-to-day was getting in the way. So the self-care is doing whatever fills up your lifts you up. Make sure you get the sleep, stay hydrated, eat. Those things that we forget when we get into festival or
Exactly.
holiday seasons.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I actually make sure that I do my favorite things. Like I love taking time out, long baths. My kids hate it because they're excluded from a bathroom for a couple hours. But this is where I get to decompress
Hmm.
by the noise. I'm a big advocate for cat naps, actually. Cat nap, the short nap. If you can set your timer for 10, 15 minutes, even if you're not falling asleep, that resting time, do whatever that is. That could be reading, doing a craft, or just laying down and just letting your brain do the random things it needs
Okay.
to. But those short naps
Hmm.
reset your clock. It also allows your muscles to reset. We would go in recovery mode. And one of the beautiful things was because I was looking at self-care, I created my own template of coping skills. I call them masker hitting coping skills because you use the coping skill in front of somebody and they don't know you're using it. And I didn't make it up. I just realized if this cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT skill works for
Hmm.
this CBT skill works for this, and this dialectic behavioral therapy skill, DBT skill works for that. I was like, what happens when we mesh them together? Well, apparently we get a lot of bang for our buck. And a lot of us, when we're dysregulated, we don't feel like we have choices. And that's when we get pulled out of our executive function and we're pulled into flight or freeze. And then we're not able to think clearly. So my coping skills are quick, activating, but I'm not inventing anything new. I'm teaching you how to make sure you're breathing for about a good 20 seconds, and not even a true 20 seconds because I count fast. The distraction in our head by the counting, but also grounding technique. That's where the hitting part is, because when we can bring ourselves into the present instead of future jumping from anxiety or anticipation and adrenaline slip,
Yeah.
well, or when we're depressed and our heart rate's low and ruminating in the past, if we're breathing, it allows our bodies to go, hey, my heart rate's too high. I gotta slow it down or speed it up. Our bodies are actually the best regulators. It just needs help. It doesn't have an off switch. And
Mm,
that's why people work all day and they come home and they just flump on the couch and they on their phone or watching TV or gaming, because they don't have an off switch and they don't know how else to move forward because there's not the energy to do what they wanted to do when they got home. Like, I was gonna do this. They get home, they just don't have it in them
yeah.
because they're saturated from burning on that high level.
Mm.
So, so,
And Daniel, like when it comes to this burnouts things, like a lot of people nowadays, this trend is going on that never rest on your laurels. Always, work is worship. Burn the midnight oil. So people, they don't care about their sleep. Sleep is overrated, or like it's something that people with a lot of free time do it. Take 7 or 8 hours of sleep. So what's your take on it?
oh, it's not even a take on it. Is more look at what is your why you're doing it. Yeah.
Mm,
So when you're looking at that, that's almost like we're looking at the behaviors. Okay. The behaviors. And now people talk about behaviors as it's a negative thing. Everything's a behavior. You listening to me, you blinking, you responding, you thinking, it's a behavior. So what is in that pattern that you are relying on for consistency? Remember how I said we're complex creatures?
yeah, definitely.
Well, one of the things that we are known as, we will stay in our suck and muck until we can't stand it. Usually it takes a crisis moment
Mm,
or something that doesn't, or something changes that we have, it's outside of control. That is the only reason why we do it. So that's why with my coping skills, I will actually overcomplicate the explanation why we're doing it, because the technique's so easy. If it was ABC, would do it? No. We literally have to have a buy-in why we're doing things. So lack of sleep, that working. Well, maybe it's the paycheck, or I'm gonna go on vacation. Um, I actually do better when I'm more awake. The truth is maybe they have insomnia, maybe there's the stressors and their body doesn't know how to relax, and that distraction just to keep going is their only option. We don't know the why behind the behavior or the buy-in.
Does it have to do with that thing, like you psychologist or psychiatrist often use it, like reward and punishment thing? Does it have to do with that as well?
It can, not always, not always. It's kind of like we use the word addiction as a really good kind of way, because a good way to frame it is addiction is you'll give up everything for that one thing, okay? But we don't realize our behaviors are our own as addiction. Like I will use media as a good the phones. Like when we get a new toy, I'm like I can save up and get that new high tech thing. When you just bought the last model last year, but
Yeah.
there's that dopamine high that feeds
Hmm.
it, and then we get addicted to it, and we level out. We get a new baseline, so we're always amping it up
True.
until our body cannot produce it or sustain it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But there's the other part too is we don't know we have options. When we feel we don't have options, what are you going to do? You'll stay in the same pattern because it's predictable. The fear of the unknown keeps us stuck.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah, you're more worried that you'll fail at not knowing what's going to happen next. But I'm like, going, I know this is bad for me, but I know that A, B, and C will happen.
Yeah. I
I
guess
don't like my boss. It's a toxic area, but I know I'll get a paycheck.
there you go. Yeah. I
There's your
guess,
buy-in.
some Greek philosopher Seneca or someone has said that we suffer more or in imagination than in reality.
Oh, I would agree with that completely.
Yeah.
we
And
we we create a narrative, a story that explains our reality. And that's the interesting thing about even with trauma or mental health or situations, we already have a bias of a situation. You ever notice that when you have a text message and you read it, you have a voice in your head based on that person's name,
yeah.
and more fights happen because of it. That's why we create emojis because there's no body language. 90% of language is spoken silently.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
So when we come back to that story, if we have an emotional response to something, we have a tendency to create the narrative or the story to equal that intensity of that.
Mm,
I mean, how many times has friends said, "You did this and this and this," when it really was just a dream, and they're like, "I never did that. I never said that." No, you did it. It was like because we created this narrative because we need to make sense of things.
yeah. And Daniel, like I've observed one more thing, like when it comes to negative and positive approaches, like we care more about negative approaches. Like let's assume that I'm a YouTuber. If I get three positive comments, obviously I'm gonna feel good about it. But if there is one negative comment, I would keep on pondering about that one negative comment.
That is actually correct. My last statistic was it takes five positive to equal the negative.
Mm,
Let's use, you were talking about work. Let's say you had a work evaluation or something or feedback. Maybe you're a student even. Um, they're going to start with the positives and they do the one negative, and
mm.
that's all we hear.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. And that is what we hyper focus on. And those are those uh traumatic responses that
Mm,
we tagline. Eric Erickson, Stages of Life, Eric Erickson, who's a Freudian. I love how he did the lifespan. And his theory was if we don't learn those milestones or things, those lessons in those timelines, we're bound to repeat it over and over again. I
mm.
knew about Eric Erickson clear back when I was a recreational therapist. I hadn't even got my associate's degree in towards social work. I was studying this.
Eight
And one of the
stages
things,
of development, right? Daniel, sorry for interruption. Eight stages of development. Eric Erickson.
yes, 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 that's it. And what I loved looking at it is it kind of gave me a snapshot of why when I was a kid, I would hear about midlife crisis.
Yeah.
That 40-year-old going out, destroying their life, buying that sports car, acting like a Jew, and blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, it was true. And when I started looking at Eric Erickson's stages of the life, you also looked at how it impacted those with disabilities like autism or
Hmm.
ADHD. Those things, if you look at it, the developmental milestones are delayed. But if you can pinpoint where an incident happened, it kind of gets you stuck there. We go along, we blip, but we move forward. We're going to keep going back to that until we learn that. And then that ties into attachment theory, how we develop, how we do our relationships, how we interact with ourselves. And that goes with that narrative of that negative that we have on ourselves, because those are reinforced by those core beliefs that develop when we're seeing the people that are supposed to raise us and love us and care for us. They're
Wow.
all intersected.
Hmm. And Daniel, like moderate stress, is it good for body or not? Stress in a moderate amount.
Um, debatable. What comes to mind is you have to look at pre-existing factors
Hmm.
when you look at that. There is a scoring where we call it the A score, where there are certain factors that happen before we're age 18. If those factors numbers are higher, we're going to respond differently based on that. The higher the number, more increase on illness, early death, um, uh, negative responses to behaviors and stimuli. So moderate stress may actually be the easy stress for that person because
Yeah.
they've been at this level for a long time. But somebody that may not know how to cope or did not know how to regulate, moderate stress might actually be the tipping point for them. So it's
Oh, there
individualized.
is. Hmm. Got it. And again, it is, I guess it has to do with Eric Erickson's theory, stages of development. If your stage was somehow you didn't, give your 100% in that stage, it's gonna shift to another stage, I guess.
Yeah, that's how I've been seeing it. These
Yeah.
are all observations, and that's
Mm,
why it's nice. That's why it's a theory. There's
mm,
nothing proven, but it's repeatable and it's been consistent. And when I talk to clients, may it be about their child or themselves and their relationships with themselves, I'm always talking about if you're looking at how you're interacting with people, we don't communicate well. Well, how are you communicating with yourself? Let's step at the basics. So, what I'm looking at is what are we missing? Let's give you those steps. Let's give you those foundations because then everything starts to shift because you already have pieces. We're just missing some holes.
wow. There you go. Wow. Hmm. True.
So, your question's a good one because depending on who it is, it could be a yes and it could be a no, or it doesn't really matter,
True.
that moderate stuff level. We do know that the when we have stressors that it produce the cortisol
Yeah.
and it creates the belly fat, and that's where you start looking at like, okay, how is it really affecting the body and how is it being addressed? And that goes back to the self-care.
Got it. Hmm.
So you literally have to look at all those domains of how are we balancing it? Because let's talk about grief. Grief is its own stressor. It's its own isolated moment. It's like a roller coaster. We all go through it, and it doesn't matter if it's death to something else. We feel a loss, and we're out of control. And one of the things that people in grief is they have this expectation to do it a certain way. Now, granted, there is traditions, there's formalities, and
Yeah.
that is acceptable. We want to respect the individual's autonomy to that. But what I let my clients know is have some compassion for yourself. The only rule I say is as long as not hurting yourself or others, breathe how you need to. And know that you will not show up on your 100%. Some of us go on autopilot and we're still able to do the day to day. But then they realize like I'm forgetting things. I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised. Your body's geared to not use things that it can't use. Well, right now you're trying to be in survival mode. It's gonna forget somebody your password to get in your laptop one day,
Hmm.
or forget a word or somebody's name. They're like, I should know. Go, well, because you've been able to do it every time. It's in that back front. You literally are going offline. It is in survival mode. You gotta have kind of look at it. Don't try not to feed into it. Go, okay, let's take a pause. What am I feeling? Let's granted, you can 90 seconds, our emotions will shift on its own. But it's so hard to be in that emotion of, I feel like I'm a failure. I'm sad. Well, guess what? It's okay to have a pity party. It's okay to cry because as long as you're not staying in it, let it do its thing. Sometimes that cry for no reason
Okay.
resets you.
Catharsis, I guess. It's a catharsis, right? You get rid of your emotions by doing that.
Yeah. Even that nap, it resets you that I talk about.
Definitely.
Also have a routine in between things, honestly, because we get so tunnel vision and things. That's where the stressors kind of climb up that medial stress. We don't know where we're at until we've tapped out. So having that expectation of a routine, like I'm gonna have a drink of water at 10 o'clock, or I have to go for a 5 minute walk, even though I'm gonna stop at the bathroom. Like do something extra that is more meaningful to clear your head, bring you back into the present.
Hmm.
And that helps with any stress, may it be from the grief to boss yelling at you to a deadline. Because you say, I can't sleep. Well, it's because your brain's still trying to problem solve everything.
Hmm. True. Yeah. And in the light of what you're saying, what if we try sometimes deliberately we try to break the routine, We always try to make sure that everything is at the right thing, right place, say that. So, like in that case, is it okay sometimes to break the routine so you get, something new?
Yeah, actually, that's per that going back to we're creatures of habit. It's dependable. So
Yeah.
that's why they say it takes about 6 weeks to create break a habit or create a new habit.
Mhm.
So try different things. Put something, if you want to try something different and you don't know how to do it, schedule it into your calendar and write it down. Put a timer, especially people with ADHD. This is a performance issue, not an issue of laziness or not smart enough. There's they're some of the most and people with dyslexia too. They're some of the most intelligent people, but what happens is the neurons aren't connecting until one day they goes, and then like I'm going to use that momentum, and then they crash.
Mhm.
They totally crash out and they burn out, and then they're non-productive, and they're like, "Ah, I know so. I have that same problem. I have that reference, but because I know what happens with it and to expect it, I'm either going to use it to my benefit or I'm going to go, hey, slow your roll, slow down, see what's doable without taking myself out of the game. So changing up those routines is actually good because if you can distract yourself to pause, to breathe, to whatever, you're able to sometimes engage that action. That's the problem. The action is the biggest thing is, yeah, I can change a behavior, but the action part is where people have the hardest time. It's like kickstarting a bad motorcycle or and the choker isn't working. You hear da 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 da. Finally it kicks in, but did you have enough gas to sustain it as
Wow.
well?
Wow. What a nice example. Yeah. Intriguing.
So yes, uh, breaking up the routine is good, but with people with ADHD, that seems like all they do as
Mm,
well. Because they can't either they're hyper focused or they're jumping from one thing to the next to the next. So you got to look to see what is actually going to be more the benefit versus the detriment.
yeah. So there's no such thing as one size fits all.
No, there is. It's like universal design for education. Everyone learns differently. Everyone needs maybe some accommodation. Some people learn more audibly, textually, um, visually. I mean, I do all of five senses. I didn't have accommodations growing up because I didn't know I needed them. I'm in my doctorate program right now. I'm barely able to advocate for what I need because I'm now figuring it out late in life. But doesn't mean it hasn't been a good education along the way. Yes, it's had its pitfalls, but I can connect with my clients better or people who struggle with them, like going, hey, this has worked for me. Maybe this, you can try this, this, and this. These are some other references I found. So I'm not making it up. I mean, I have lived experiences to connect with empathy and compassion for my colleagues, to my clients, to family, to friends. Doesn't matter who it is.
Mm, great. Wow. And before we call it today, Daniel, what sort of advice would you like to give to people in general that being a a health advocate, but people don't?
One thing, you are the first priority
Okay. Mm,
because anything else, we all outsource. We always try to help other people first.
yeah.
If you do not put yourself first as the person you love or have compassion or kindness for, it's not going to help everybody else you want to take care of or support. So doing that self-care, doing those check-ins, and also have compassion for when you can't do things. We all get sick, we all get injured, we all age.
Wow.
We all hit the wall at some point.
Mm,
Just take a moment and go, okay,
intriguing.
as long as you're, yeah, just have that compassion. And the other thing too is learn to be okay with support and help from others.
Yeah.
Man, we are like the worst we'll be a martyr over anything because I don't want to be an inconvenience. I don't want to be burned. Those are those negative internal thoughts we do. We want to be independent. Well, be independent enough to say, yes, I need that support. Please
Mm,
bring me that. Please bring me milk. Yes, bring me that drink of water. Uh, yes, pick up my kid for me for a second.
Yeah. Ask for help. Yeah. Don't let ego come in the middle of it. Yeah, I think always. Wow. And on that note, Daniel, I guess I won't fool you any longer. Thank you for your sagacious advice and thank you for spreading this message. I'm sure that people will learn a lot from this podcast. So thank you for your time. And
Yes,
I,
thank you again.
yeah, we will catch up in the future.
Yeah, and my practice actually does life coaching. So people outside the state of Utah, I can actually talk to them about these things at Willa Medella Wellness. And you can
Wow.
just look it up.
Hmm.
So I talk to people internationally. So this is actually wonderful that I had this opportunity with you. So thank you for your time.
Definitely. And this is not the, I guess, from my side, it's not the first time. I would invite you with expert talk people like you, a lot of people who are from into this field. So I want to have an expert talk with you and other individuals like you. So if you're up for it, I'll drop you a message and we
I
can,
would be happy to. I'd be excited to. Thank you
yeah.
for the
Take,
invitation.
take care, Daniel. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you. Bye.